Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rebecca Berger. This is Justice for All, where you get to hear from legal professionals in the surrounding area. We have a really great guest tonight, David Stern from Stern Cohen. Dave, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you can join us in this crazy time.
Sure is.
And since you can't be in studio, we have you on Zoom.
At least I got to put a suit on.
I think
Been a
that's,
couple months.
I was going to say it's kind of rare right now, right?
Yeah, sure is.
So you actually work in the area of workers' compensation in the Philadelphia area, correct?
Correct. Representing injured workers in workers' compensation claims.
Is this the kind of area of law that you've always practiced in?
Yeah, right out of law school for about 4 years. I was on the insurance defense side, representing the insurance companies and the employers in these claims. Guess you could say I cut my teeth, learned how the other side thinks. And then for the last over 16 years, I've just been representing injured workers.
Okay. Do these cases really end up in litigation, actually in trial?
Most, there's usually two types of clients that come to me. One client whose claim has been denied for a variety of different reasons, or unfortunately, really no reason at all, other than that was just the decision that was made. And there are some clients that come to me who are receiving workers' compensation benefits, and they're looking for representation for other, aspects of their claim. And it doesn't necessarily turn into litigation, although some of those also turn into litigation. So it's definitely an area of law that's heavily litigated.
Did you always want to be an attorney?
I did. My father was a federal judge in D.C.
Wow.
So, the way we resolved disputes at my house growing up was a mini trial in the kitchen or maybe in the basement. But yeah, I guess it's in my blood. I did always want to practice law. And I guess if I couldn't go into athletics, there was something about the law that attracted me from a competitive standpoint. So yeah, this is what I always knew I wanted to do.
So I'm assuming in those trials, he was the judge, and you most likely lost.
Most likely, my younger brothers always seem to get the benefit of the doubt with him for some reason.
So in terms of the workers' comp area, what are your most typical type of cases like?
Yeah, so the most common case is somebody that gets hurt at work, is unable to, work as a result, but the insurance company, for one reason or the other, believes that the person can work and so denies their claim and refuses to pay lost wage benefits. So workers' comp is a lost wage benefit system. And if you're unable to work and therefore incurring a loss of income, workers' comp is supposed to replace that for you. But insurance companies, not always, of course, but more often than not, will deny the injured worker's claim for wage loss, which can be really taxing on that injured worker and his or her family because they're out of work without income.
And I was just going to say that, you're litigating, so they come to you, they're saying, hey, my employer won't pay my lost wages. What do they do during that time period when you're litigating this?
It's really complicated. Sometimes people are able to collect unemployment compensation, while the workers' compensation claim is pending. Some people are fortunate enough to have the benefit of a short-term or a long-term disability policy. But I'll tell you, more often than not, someone in their family is helping them, or they're scratching what they can, but they're not getting paid. It's taxing.
So is it one of those situations, I guess maybe this is half and half, where you have some people who have temporary issues and then some people who have permanent issues?
Sure. Yeah. I think the injuries run the gamut. You know, I mean, you represent people who have injuries that aren't severe and are able to go back to work, and you represent individuals with life-altering injuries, and I've obviously I've seen all types of injuries, from concussions down to foot injuries, head to toe, and but the other thing about these injuries is a hand injury in one occupation might be more disabling than a hand injury in another occupation. If you don't really use your hands much, then you might be able to go back to work with a hand injury. Whereas someone with a relatively minor hand injury, if they rely on their hands, they probably can't work for some period of time. So it's industry specific too.
Is there a typical type of injury that you see a lot?
I mean, I would say the orthopedic injuries are the most common. Backs, necks, shoulders, knees, extremities. But I've also seen strokes, heart attacks, death from various conditions, concussions, which can be very, very complicated, mental injuries. So I would say orthopedic is the most common, but any type of medical condition that you could think of, I've probably seen in some form or another.
So do they normally deny the claim if these people have pre-existing conditions that were aggravated by the particular injury?
Yeah, that's a pretty common defense. Usually what'll happen is after an injury takes place, the insurance adjuster will take a statement from the injured worker, and one of the questions they will ask is, have you ever had a problem, with this area of your body before? And even if the answer is, 25 years ago, I had an issue with my back, boom, the insurance adjuster will deny that claim because it's a pre-existing condition, even though that injured worker had no problems for the next 24 years leading up to this injury. So, but that is probably one of the more common reasons for a denial, I say.
So do you prefer that they have an attorney, they have you representing them before they have this statement taken?
I think that's always a good idea. Sometimes these questions can be tricky, that you get asked, have you ever had pain in your back before? If you're just being really honest and you had,
most people have.
Right, everybody has pain in their back, and maybe you took 2 Advil 2 months ago because you were kind of sore one day, and you answer that question with a yes, that could throw the whole thing off. So I think it is good to have representation before making such a statement. And I usually will say to the client, we're not even going to give a statement. I reach out to the insurance adjuster and say, if there's anything you want answered, I'm happy to be the in-between and get you those answers so you can do a proper investigation of the claim.
Yeah, because I would seem that, again, those little things could end up turning into something that's not what they actually meant if they're not represented. I could see that being a problem.
It's so easy to twist words.